Welcome to the Insurance Brokers Podcast, Helpful Hints. Here we break down the best, most informative bits of our full-length interviews.
So one of the things that I believe really passionately, and like I say, we're doing some R&D work at the moment, is that the half-day webinar is not what you need. You need short, daily, consistent training that is scenario-based. So you can really understand this abstract concept that you've spent half a day telling me about. Give me Joe Bloggs of construction firm X that had problem Y, that the risk managers help, the employee benefits help, the this is the commercial combined policy they have, whatever it might be. Give me that scenario and then give me short information clips about what I could be doing in those, and do it every day, repetitively, just a few minutes that you can fit into your day-to-day life, because that type of learning fits the sort of the generational and societal changes we're going through now. I mean, my kids don't watch any program for longer than 5 minutes. It's YouTube and it's quick flash, and that's the mindset that actually the younger generations are in. And even I'm bite-sized quick and my attention's gone. So we're doing some R&D on how you can get some of this information and really valuable learning integrated into the culture at the front line and all the way up, because I think that's where real change comes from.
I think you're absolutely right, Sarah, and I'm going to give you sort of two responses to that, two almost analogies, if you like. One of the things that we've been very keen to introduce in our business is to make sure that everybody that touches a client relationship is more of a risk advisor, risk consultant than an insurance broker or an employee benefits specialist, so that we're having conversations with the client about what are the really important things to them, what are things that are going on in their world, and let's listen to what's going on in their world, and then let's try to provide them with a solution to it. And that's not overly dissimilar to what you've just described, that as a trainer, if you come in and say, this is the way to do things in a 2-hour slot, and without actually asking what is it you're doing and what is it that's important to you, then you're largely wasting your time and you're telling rather than helping. And the second analogy I'd use is perhaps very much a lockdown analogy. Like a lot of people, I suspect that some of us have been using the last 12 months or so to try and learn a new language. And we've all used Duolingo and Rosetta Stone and all that type of stuff. And everybody will accept, I think, that simply going to a French class or doing a French module online is helpful. But unless you are immersed in the language day in, day out, it's never going to stick in here. The best way to learn a language is to be immersed in the language. And that's exactly the same as the thing you've just described. Unless you're immersed in it and are really living and breathing it, it's really difficult to then teach, because the teaching will go in one ear and out the other ear. We are conditioned as individuals, I think, to learn from experience, not learn from telling. And most of us did our O-levels and GCSEs, and most of that is just regurgitating what we've been told by the teacher. How many of us can remember that a month later? I know my sons can't.
I certainly can't. In fact, my husband often tells me he wants to write to the exam board for who I did my English A-level through and have it revoked when I get an apostrophe wrong or something, which I think is entirely unfair based on what you've just said. Because obviously I'm not immersed in English language. Oops, bad example. But I think what you're saying is absolutely right. And I'll add again to what I think you've said is immersion and interest. Deliver it to me in a way that I can relate to. It needs to be relatable rather than abstract. And sometimes I think that's quite a difficult thing to do as a trainer or a coach, is to find that particular person's relatable point, something that's going to draw them in, particularly if you're doing it to a group of people. And that's why I think a varied solution with different angles coming at a group of people daily, you're going to hit something somewhere. And once you've got that engagement, the process and the retention of the information is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also re-emphasizes the point we've made a couple of times, that, before you start telling people what's important to them, you need to invest some time finding out what's relevant to them. because if it's not relevant, then it's a pointless exercise. And actually, what's one thing I wanted to mention, that as a non-executive director, I think a good NED actually is at a bit of an advantage to your traditional leadership team, because positioned properly, a non-executive director can be seen as more independent than part of the established executive team. And certainly, I've spent some time over the last 12 months talking to people in the business, very much on an anonymous, confidential basis. And it's really surprising what you pick up from that type of conversation, which you may not have picked up had you been their line manager or their managing director. So that little bit of independence is sometimes a key to unlocking this this sort of inner relevance conversation that you just referred to.